We have just received a consignment from the Unodc, that's the United Nations Office Against Drugs and Crime. It's for the National Counter-Terrorism Centre. The items are to help the centre in the operations, in their daily operations, in the campaign against crime and in meeting their objectives. The National Counter-Terrorism Centre is under the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and its objective is to fight terrorism across the country. So these items these are mainly stationary and campaign items that will help in the fight against terrorism and in the campaigns, information of the public. So we do appreciate this support from the Unodc, and I'm sure it will help the National Counter-Terrorism Centre in its fight to ensure that we spread the message of fighting terrorism. We have been working with the Unodc for quite some time, and we do appreciate the support. The Unodc mainly gets support from other donor agencies, the EU and the GIZ. So we do appreciate the support we receive from these UN agencies because they help us do what we are supposed to do. And this fight is not an individual country fight, it's a world fight. So it's an international fight, and we do appreciate that support.
The UN Office on Drugs and Crime is a UN agency that works closely with member states to enhance peace and security. In Uganda, we are privileged through the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the National Counter-Terrorism Centre to have worked collectively on a project entitled Strengthening Efforts to Prevent and Counter Violent Extremism while Safeguarding Human Rights Standards. This project brought together a variety of stakeholders, civil society, government, and also community, religious and cultural leaders. One of the key components of the project was to ensure that there's a whole of government and whole of society approach to preventing and countering violent extremism, and coordination was key. And we're very pleased to report that this project successfully worked with the National Counter-Terrorism Centre to develop a strong coordination mechanism. Today, we hand over a variety of items that will facilitate and enhance this coordination, being spearheaded by the National Counter-Terrorism Centre. One of the key issues we realized in the framework of the project was the need to ensure that we disseminate information, training, building capacity, in just having a basic understanding of what are some of the key drivers and pull factors that are associated with violent extremism. So most of these items and tools will be used by the stakeholders to reach communities and stakeholders to disseminate this information. This set of equipment will also be used to enhance the work of the different actors. Some actors had challenges in IT equipment, they didn't have computers. Other actors needed basic facilitation in terms of just the basic tools to enhance the work. We have projecting equipment that will allow for the actors to actually be in communities and disseminate this information, build conversations and enhance trust. So we're very confident about this gesture, and we look forward to the positive impact that this work and the partnership we have ongoing with the government will have. Thank you.
I'm Brigadier General Dominic Twesigomwe, the Commandant, National Counter-Terrorism Centre. This Counter-Terrorism Centre is basically to coordinate counter-terrorism activities at national level, regional level, and international levels. But importantly, for us as National Counter-Terrorism, we are majorly trying to balance the kinetic means and the soft approach. But in our strategy for national counterterrorism and violent extremism, we normally put there human rights. That as we are fighting terrorism, we hinge on human rights. I know there is a paradox how you can fight terrorism with human rights. In regard to the items received from United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, plus United Nations Office of Counter-Terrorism. These items will definitely improve our efficiency, and we shall use them effectively. You know, terrorism is a global threat. It's an existential threat for which now these days the traditional means cannot be used to tackle it, but it needs a whole of society approach.
In the past 4 weeks, the team spearheaded by the National Counter-Terrorism Centre has been running several activities. The work that we did together had 4 components: enhancing coordination, building strategic communication in terms of PCVE, PCVE standing for Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism. We worked in the prisons, and we worked with the Uganda Human Rights Commission. In the past 4 weeks, we've managed to train 400 prison staff on managing violent extremist prisoners who are in the different facilities, and the different facilities encompass 19 regions. We also trained 50 participants from ministries, departments and agencies together with civil society on PCVE. We worked with the Uganda Human Rights Commission, spearheaded by the chairperson, to conduct monitoring visits, to go to places of detention, to ensure that as much as we manage these high-risk prisoners, the way we manage them, the way we work with them in partnership with the Uganda Prison Service is done in a humane way. And in partnership with the UN Office on Counter-Terrorism and the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, we develop messages, tailored messages to speak to communities in local languages to ensure that people understand the basic ideas behind the need to prevent violent extremism that leads to terrorism. And so we are confident that stakeholders are gaining a better understanding of the need to ensure that there's peace and security in this region, and that Uganda leads the way for other countries to see how it can be done in a whole society and whole of government approach.